The Great Eight delivers OT heroics in Game 1 for the Caps.
The Los Angeles Kings fend off the feisty Oilers to reign supreme on home ice.
And the Stars and Avs needed overtime down in Dallas.
All that and so much more on this Monday night Stanley Cup playoff edition of Locked On NHL Game Night.
When that final horn sounds, you know it's time for Locked On NHL Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On NHL Game Night. Your team every day.
Hello there, hockey fans, and welcome to another episode of Locked On NHL Game Night. I'm Cam Stewart, a sad Boston Bruins fan now on the third coast.
And I'm Tyler Feldman, a lifelong Penguins fan, born and raised in Pittsburgh, played a little amateur hockey with John Gibson back in the day. But I'm currently loving life in Austin, Texas. And Cam, we got treated to 4 great games on this Monday night, 2 of which needed overtime. The playoffs, baby, they are here and they are delivering.
Oh, man, this is why you watch. This is why you stay up all night and then hang out with us in the morning. 4 one-goal games in the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight, and nothing touches playoff hockey. I'm sorry. You can take your Masters and your March Madness and your Champions League. There's nothing that's like this, and tonight is what showed it. And kind of getting lost in this is our East Coast game, the Capitals and the Canadiens. You've got obviously a revamped Caps team, the number 1 seed, Alex Ovechkin. It's been his year all year, but he's been trying to tell us, hey, there are other guys on this team. There's all this whole other team that makes Washington so great. Well, Ovechkin stole the show once again. Of all the things that he's done in his career, had never scored a game winner in overtime in the playoffs until now. The Caps blow a 2-0 lead. Both goals had a hand from Alex Ovechkin. He scores the first, assists the second. They blow the lead. It goes to OT, and who else but the Great Eight to win it in overtime. Caps survive, take a 1-0 lead. Let's hear from our homie, Dan Holme, the host of Locked On Capitals, and his report on a Game 1 victory.
Alex Ovechkin drops the curtain on the Montreal Canadiens as the Capitals take it in overtime in Game 1. Hi, this is Dan Holme of Locked On Capitals. Well, physicality was the name of the game in this first game. Tom Wilson, Duhaime, dishing out some big hits that led to some scoring opportunities for the Capitals. Alex Ovechkin scoring a power play goal. Later, Anthony Beauvillier, who was playing on the top line with Strome and Ovechkin because Protas is out. Played rather well, all things considered. I like what I saw from him. This game saw the return of Logan Thompson, who has been out since April 2nd, and all things considered, he was okay. I've seen a better Logan Thompson. The second period, the Montreal Canadiens started to pour it on a little bit more, and then in the third period, a lack of discipline is what could have nearly cost this game for the Capitals. You saw that penalty by Pierre-Luc Dubois that really started the wheel to wobble for the Capitals. That errant bounce off Roy's skate that led to a goal by Cole Caulfield. Then you saw Logan Thompson out of position that led to that goal by Suzuki. So it's a good thing the Capitals were able to batten down the hatches because, like I say, the Capitals were up by 2 in the third period. The Canadiens tied the game, and then Ovechkin does what he does best, Mr. Clutch, scoring the GWG in overtime. I'll have much more on this for you later on Locked On Caps.
It was an exciting one in Game 1, Tyler, and Ovechkin was the story, but a pretty good story for Washington in between the pipes tonight as well.
Logan Thompson, not talked about as much. We heard a little bit about he was out of position on that Kurt Suzuki goal. It bothered me as well because they had played so well. The guys in front of him were out of position as well, out of sync. It was crazy, but Cam, what's the most dangerous lead in hockey?
2-0. 2-0, baby.
A 2-goal lead. And so
like it.
Washington experienced that tonight. Thompson, he was not his best, but it's the first time we've seen him since April 2nd. So 33 saves against a very hot Montreal team, able to fend them off and make some big saves when necessary. Again, that third period when you saw Cole Caulfield make it 2-1, then you saw Kurt Suzuki tie it up. Suzuki's been red hot, though, too. 37 points in 26 games since the Four Nations tournament. He's been one of the best players in the league, so not surprised that he put one in the net to tie things up for the Canadiens. But if Washington wants to win this series, and I think they do win this series, Thompson will need to clean up those mistakes that we saw in the third period, and we've got to see more people other than Alexander Ovechkin doing the damage. Anthony Beauvillier, it seemed like he was skating really well with Ovi in this hockey game. Caps got him from the Penguins during the deadline. So there are different pieces on this Capitals team. The Canadiens are playing really well. They showed that fight. They have the fight to make this a series, but Washington, of course, is the top dog. They can and they should maintain that strength throughout this series.
Habs did look like a team that had been in the playoffs before, which a lot of their players have not. They've shown they're not going to get pushed around in this one. Ian Bouvert of Locked On Canadiens breaks it down from the Habs side of things.
The Montreal Canadiens pushed the Washington Capitals to the brink but could not finish the job in overtime as the Capitals take Game 1 of their first-round series against the Montreal Canadiens. Ian Boisvert here of Locked On Canadiens, coming to you immediately after the Washington Capitals defeated the Montreal Canadiens by a score of 3-2 in overtime. Game 1 goes to Washington. It looked like that was going to be the result for much of the game until about midway through the game, where the Canadiens really started to come on. Truly, in the third period, Montreal dominated the game, and Washington was frankly lucky to get to overtime, an outcome that I don't think we could have expected coming into this one. Montreal ices a puck in overtime that there's some controversy around whether or not it's icing, and the Washington Capitals win the draw and score off that overtime faceoff. You can't leave that in the referee's hands at that point. The Canadiens could have won a draw, could have cleared the puck, could have, and did not. Look, either way, the Montreal Canadiens showed in Game 1 that they are not going to be an easy out for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Montreal gave Washington all they could handle through regulation.
That is going to be a tremendous series, which we didn't know if it was going to be that way going into a 1-8 matchup, but it certainly looks like it's going to shake out to be a pretty entertaining one.
Cam, one more note for that game that I do want to hit on. Sam Montembeault in net for the Canadiens, 29 saves. We didn't touch on him at all. He played super well in that game, and I think if he continues that, this series will be super close. The other point, that second period Anthony Beauvillier goal that he tipped in on that Alexander Ovechkin shot, it looked like it was above the shoulder. Martin St. Louis decided not to challenge that call. They leave it as a goal. What do you think? I think that was a point that wasn't talked about enough, was it high sticking? The broadcast said that because it wasn't redirected initially right into the net, that above the shoulders versus above the crossbar is the ruling. So a close call there, but not challenging that play. I don't know which way it would have went, truthfully.
Yeah, and maybe that was kind of the confusion on the Montreal bench when something happens, bang, bang. Like, we know those are the smartest hockey guys in the room on the bench there, but sometimes those things happen fast. And I think that's honestly probably what happened. I thought Montreal got away with a couple of calls in this game, or non-calls in this game. So I don't know, maybe that was the hockey gods evening some things out. And speaking of evening out, that's what the Stars needed to do. They lost Game 1 again for the 8th straight series. Tyler, again, this is a team that's made the conference finals the last 2 years.
Hey, they're consistent.
And they always lose Game 1. But going into this, after losing 8 straight Game 1s, they're 5-2 in Game 2s. That's what they needed against Colorado in this game tonight. And boy, did it take all that they had, but they come away with our second overtime game of the night. They win it deep into the first overtime. Looked like we were destined for double OT in this one. The Stars win it 4-3 after having to battle back. I mean, they had all kinds of opportunities in the second after they blew their first lead of the series. It was 2-2. Then it was after 3 missed power play opportunities. It was 3-2 Colorado. And then Tyler, Dallas needed to throw the kitchen sink in the third period, and they absolutely did that.
Dadonov with that goal electrified the crowd. I was waiting for that Dallas home crowd to be present, to be there, to think, hey, we've actually got a team that had a great regular season that's not reflective in the last couple weeks of this season. This Dallas team has the talent. I think they skate better than this Colorado Avalanche team. But it took everything because they were down. Then they had to battle back. And then Dadonov finally tied the game up in the third. And that brought the energy inside that barn. And thankfully, if you're a Stars fan, you needed that one. You needed to even this series because now it goes to Denver for game 3, tied at 1, as opposed to Colorado being up 2-0. Just a great hockey game. Really exciting finish in overtime. Colin Blackwell, great story. He beats Blackwood in overtime deep, as you said, 17:46 mark of that first overtime period. He shot the puck. It got blocked, got his own rebound from that block shot, and beats Blackwood for the game winner. Just a really thrilling moment for Dallas fans because there haven't been a ton of thrilling moments for Stars fans these past 2 weeks.
Yeah. And it's weird that puck's right there in no man's land, right? Blackwood kind of loses track of it, but it's too far out. He can't go out and poke check it away. And it just sits there for Colin Blackwell, who did not play in game 1. He gets the overtime winner in game 2. That is Stanley Cup playoff hockey for you, man. And how about Dallas just holding on again? They have led for 62 seconds, 62 whole seconds in this series, and they're pretty much right where they want to be, 1-1 and going on the road. They have dealt with this so many times before. They've been not a good overtime team in the last 3 years in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but now improved their record to 4-7 to head back to Colorado. Again, kind of where they want this to be. So those are two. Yeah, go ahead.
234 saves.
Massive.
He wasn't perfect, but he made some big time playoff hockey saves to save Dallas in this game, keep things close, and then helping them in OT. Also, Landeskog, he was warming up. Yeah. He was dressed. Thought we were maybe going to see him for the first time in 3 years. That could be another story to watch. Maybe the Avs wanted to bring him back on home ice. We'll see what kind of impact he could have for this team. I'm just not sure what kind of impact.
He's just a mascot or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be interesting, man. And certainly that the lid will come off that place, formerly the Pepsi Center, when he gets out there and skates for the Avs. That's going to be a fun one. And this was a fun game. That was our 2 overtime games. But if you think we're done with the craziness, boy, do we have news for you. There was a game out in LA that is one of the best that we've seen in recent memory. That is coming up next on Locked On NHL Game Night.
Tonight's episode is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days, whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, just need a quick protein boost, maybe late night, taping the show with my guy Cam. They're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, well, you're in luck too, because the shell-in option is always a classic favorite as well. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
Back here on Locked On NHL Game Night, Tyler Feldman, I'm Cam Stewart. About a minute real time before the Colin Blackwell goal to end things in Dallas, we had the end of the game in LA, and just an absolutely bonkers game 1 between the Oilers and the Kings. We've talked about it here on the show before, right? Kings finally have the home ice advantage in this one. They're dominant at home, and it looked like it was all going to plan. 2:17 left in the second period, 23 minutes left in the game, not even, and it's 4-0 LA Kings. It was an absolute culmination. It was a party down on LA. And then it looked like we were getting revenge from 1982 and the miracle on Manchester, just in the reverse order when the Kings came back from 5 goals down against the Oilers all the way back 40 plus years ago. the Oilers were about to reverse it on him. I mean, it was 4-0, then 4-1 just at the end of the second, 5-3 late in the game.
Oh,
And
Cam, you know what the most dangerous lead in hockey
it's
is?
5-3, of course.
5-3.
Right. Yeah, that
5-3.
that 2-goal lead comes back. And it's Perry to make it 5-3, and then it's Zach Hyman, and then it's Connor McDavid. And all of a sudden, with a minute and a half left, we've got a tie game.
That McDavid goal was sick.
I mean, it's McDavid's world still.
Passed it to himself off the boards. It was sweet.
Pond hockey stuff. But lest we think that was the end of things, this one didn't even go into overtime.
Thank goodness, because it is.
We did need
it is nearly 2 a.m. on the East Coast. It is nearly 1 a.m. right now, taping this Central Time Zone. So I'm glad that game didn't go into overtime.
Our man Eddie Garcia was there for it, and he's got to try and break this down for us from the Locked On Kings perspective.
I may be a bit biased, but I may have just seen the best game of the Stanley Cup playoffs so far. Hi, I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. The Kings just pulled out a 6-5 victory over the Edmonton Oilers in a game that had a little bit of everything. A great start for the Kings. They had a 4-0 lead in the second period. A great comeback by the Oilers. They tie it up at 5-5 late with a couple of goals scored with their goalie pulled. But in the end, under a minute to go, Philip Deneau scores his second goal of the game. That is the game winner, and the Kings hold on for a 6-5 victory. Kings are hoping home ice advantage would be the difference in this one. Of course, this is the first of 4 playoff meetings between the two teams, 4 consecutive playoff meetings. But this is the first time the Kings have had home ice advantage, so they get the home win in Game 1. They also did something in this game that they didn't do the entire series a year ago, and that was score a power play goal. They had 2 of them in this game. The Oilers' big guns did show up. Connor McDavid had a 4-point game. Leon Draisaitl a goal and an assist, but the Kings were able to get some big performances of their own. Adrian Kempe had a 3-point game, as did trade deadline pickup Andrei Kuzmenko in his first ever playoff game. But Philip Deneau, the hero, with the 2 goals, including the game winner late. The Kings have been, again, home ice advantage on this season now, including this win. They've won 32 of 42 games on home ice. For a complete wrap-up of this one, Game 1 of the series between the Kings and Oilers, check out Locked On LA Kings.
This game and the Dallas game going on at the same time was just pure theater. Like, this is what you love about the NHL.
It really is. I had the Stars game on one monitor. I had Kings Oilers on the other monitor. Kings Oilers ends, and almost simultaneously, Stars get the game winner in overtime. It was a beautiful moment because I was like, wow, thank goodness the Kings game did not go into overtime.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I was like, wow, thank goodness this Stars Avalanche game isn't going into double overtime. 2 great finishes. As Eddie said, the Kings are now 32-6-4 on home ice this season, which is insane. And he also mentioned how they had 2 power play goals. The Kings, this time last year, taking on the Oilers in the first round, they were 0 for 12 of the series on the man advantage. So that's a pretty drastic change, a positive drastic change if you're an LA fan. Crazy finish, 6 goals in the third period. I giving up a 4-goal lead on home ice in the playoffs is just something that cannot happen. And I'm sure that locker room's just relieved that they got out of there, because we haven't seen McDavid and Draisaitl both in the lineup for the Oilers that much this season. This was the first time they were both in the lineup since March 18th. So you can see the damage they can do. We saw that late. It was just too little too late from Edmonton. Had they started this game off the way LA had, maybe this is a different finish, but we just didn't see enough from the Oilers. There was one point in the second period, 16 plus minutes without registering a shot on goal, making life easy for the Kings.
Yeah, it's crazy to think of how suffocating the Kings were defensively for most of this game. And then it kind of unravels and you get, I mean, kind of this poetic goal to end it. We were texting back and forth like, oh my God, is this really happening? And I'll toot my own horn here a little bit. With a minute 36 left, McDavid ties it. And I texted you and I said, at least there's plenty of time for someone to win in regulation.
You called it.
And Philip Deneau comes through for me.
Don't you know?
The knuckle puck, just flutters into the net. I mean, crazy stuff. One of the great games we've seen in the last few years, I would say. I mean, just a crazy one. That
At
ends
least
in
at the
regulation.
end. At least at the
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
And I
it
think
just got nuts.
you have to highlight Trevor Moore's pass to Philip Deneau because it was on edge to begin with. Deneau just slapped at it, and it somehow didn't hit the moving bodies in front, and boom, back of the net. And I was just like, this is what I does. Did that really just happen? Did that puck go in? And it took a replay for me to really see how knuckled that puck was. Crazy. Just a crazy finish. Eddie was there. Did you see how high up he was? Press row at NHL games. Could you put us any higher?
No one is higher on life than Eddie Garcia right now, I think, after that LA Kings victory.
He's on the throne. He's on the throne.
And would you believe me if I told you we've still got another 1-goal NHL playoff game to go over? And it's the President's Trophy winners, by the way.
Yeah, I would believe you just because I scheduled out 4 games tonight and we've done 3. So simple math here.
We've still got another great one to come for you. That is coming up next on Locked On NHL Game Night. But first, tonight's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. The Stanley Cup playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you're going to get $250 in bonus bets if that bet wins. FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into player props. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. That is FanDuel.com. Back on Locked On NHL Game Night alongside Tyler Feldman, I'm Cam Stewart. We did have the President's Trophy winners against the team that was the hottest team in the league in the second half of the year, certainly after the Four Nations break. That is the Jets and the Blues. Winnipeg took a thriller in Game 1, and this was some knockdown, drag-out, defensive kind of hockey, exactly what the Jets wanted in Game 2. They win it by the slimmest of margins, 2-1 to take a 2-0 series lead. Harrison Lee of Locked On Jets has the reaction.
Game 2, the Jets are now up 2-0 in the series. A huge win at 5v5. Special teams, maybe not quite as perfect as the Jets would want, but Winnipeg will take a big series lead heading back on the road. I'm your host, Harrison Lee from Locked On Winnipeg Jets. We have just come off a big win for Winnipeg. Obviously, taking care of home ice advantage against the Blues, a really big deal. And the way the Jets played at 5v5, it has you dreaming of even bigger and better things. Special teams, again, penalty kill, maybe not where the Jets would like it, but after a couple of rough early ones, the Jets settled in and played their brand of hockey as the game wore on. St. Louis suddenly ran out of ideas. The Jets just kept pouring it on, and it is now a commanding series lead. The curse may finally be broken. On to St. Louis later this week. We'll follow up on all of that on the next episode of Locked On Winnipeg Jets. Thanks for listening, and see you there.
The Jets, man, it's not pretty. It's not sexy.
It doesn't have to be.
It is effective, Tyler. It is effective. And this is exactly how they wanted it to go.
They say that's what the early reviews are of NHL Game Night.
Yes. All of those things. It's not sexy, but it gets the job done.
It's effective.
I mean, this was patented Winnipeg Jets in this game.
Physicality, good enough.
Check.
Great goaltending. Both teams only had 22 shots on goal. So Bennington made some pretty spectacular saves. So did Hellebuck. I think that's the big head-to-head in this series is the goaltending. Those are two special guys between the pipes. I'm happy to see the Jets finally win a Game 2. Last year, first round, they won Game 1 against Colorado, then they lost 4 straight. 2 years ago, first round, they won Game 1 against Vegas, and then they lost 4 straight. So maybe, hey, they're my Stanley Cup pick. I'm sticking with the Jets. This kind of win to go up 2-0 in the series against a red-hot Blues team that was coming into the playoffs, it's an impressive win. 5v5 hockey, you heard him say it. This team has what it takes, and it doesn't have to be pretty. It's playoff hockey. the physicality in this game and really in all 4 games tonight was playoff caliber. And I think that's part of what makes the Stanley Cup playoffs so exciting, is that extra layer of we've got to give everything we've got every single minute. We saw it at the end of the Edmonton LA game where the Oilers didn't give up. We saw it with the Stars continuing to fight back in this one to tie the series. We saw it with the Capitals and the Canadiens. Every team tonight showed some fight. The game that probably was exciting but not as exciting was this Jets Blues game, but it still delivered some great saves. And you've got guys like Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor delivering it. That's what it takes. Different guys scoring goals. It doesn't matter what line you're on, who's on your team, you just got to find the back of the net. You just got to make some stops, and that's what the Jets did in this game tonight.
And the Blues certainly not feeling red hot going into Game 3 as this thing is kind of tapered off. Haley Taylor-Simon of Locked On Blues, I think, is really repping the Blues fans in this reaction.
I don't even know what to say besides I'm frustrated. I'm annoyed. The Blues looked slow. The defense was horrible. Justin Folk is a problem. Colton Parayko doesn't look 100%. Kyrie looked invisible tonight. Like, everything about this team tonight, I'm shocked. I really am. I thought this team was going to come in with a little bit more momentum. Obviously, I'm happy that Snuggie scored, but hey, that doesn't matter when your team doesn't win. And now the Blues are down by 2 in the series, which is really, really bad. I really don't know if this team can turn things around, but I'm going to try to collect my thoughts and talk to you tomorrow about it. Like, I don't know what else there is to say besides, wow, this is bad.
Blues down bad after Game 2.
I don't want to get too emotional. It's only a Monday night. It's only a 2-0 series deficit, but man, you got to feel for that kind of emotion after a game like tonight.
Yeah, and look, not to poo-poo the Blues too much, but what they did in the second half was incredible. But I think we know that they are not loaded with talent, and this is what happens. And again, you've mentioned it, how strong a 5-on-5 team Winnipeg is. There's nowhere to hide against them. So I think that's kind of what we've seen in the first 2 games. Those are our games on the night, but we do have our Monday night segment and specifically our first Stanley Cup playoff edition of
He Said What?
Let's hear it, Tyler. What did he say?
Thanks for squeezing this in. I wanted to stay consistent on Monday nights delivering
People
this.
need it. The people need it, man.
Second period intermission. Canadiens trailing 2-0 to the Capitals. ESPN NHL reporter Emily Kaplan, Penn State alum, interviewing Cole Caulfield outside the locker room after Caulfield kind of got wrecked by Alexander Ovechkin. I don't know if you saw that. He kind of got wrecked. And Emily asked the question, hey, what's it like to get hit by Ovi? And Caulfield said, quote, I don't recommend it.
I think we could all relate to that.
I don't think people realize just how big it's like when I saw Cam Newton for the first time. I was wow, I did not realize Cam Newton was that big because he moves so well.
And you also don't expect a quarterback to be quite that big either.
Alexander Ovechkin's got some serious girth to him.
And he's closing in on what, 4,000 hits?
Yeah.
Am I making that number up?
I think you're close with that number.
Watch it be like 800. No, I think that's right. I mean, he's been doing this he's been doing the goal scoring for 20 years, but he's been laying a lot of the body for 20 years too, and he certainly showed that in this game 1. Yeah,
it's good balance.
Powerful.
But that's he said what?
Love it, and what a night it was in the NHL, man. This is why you love it right here. We're sleep deprived, but
we do it tomorrow.
Let's do it tomorrow
or today, since today is tomorrow. Tomorrow is today.
And shout out to the Wild in Vegas, because I think we really need that game to drop the puck at 11 p.m. Eastern time tonight. I think that's what we all needed. If that game goes to overtime, you might not catch Tyler and I on a show again. But anyway, that is the night that was in the NHL. So make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring that notification bell so you can stay up to date on everything we're doing here on YouTube and, of course, wherever you get your podcasts as well. We want to thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network a part of your daily routine. And remember, you can join us 7 days a week for all the NHL scores and storylines from your local experts and the guys like us, Tyler Feldman and Cam Stewart, on Locked On NHL Game Night.